哇，你就很多了，你有500以上，我现在500个像料，对呀，做人要快，只要有东西好，就是上网。还可以找他是先生来的，烧虾，我有碰到一个后就是后来
好，这边鱼的部分帮你拍照。
还有那么厉害哈！
可是你也没看出来，你没有在打招呼，没有，他其实他会，没有在注意这个是没有在啊，只要少的话就是有点花，3天是还好，所以我就画了，对啊，打一场要画，最需要还有必须要有，必须要去那个地方，他就有他，因为我们几个也都是我们3个都是好朋友，然后现在都是大朋友，没有好的那个，但是你刚才就问了，所以整天的问题。然后那也要有人带你去，所以你看他是以前我们社的球队，搞到后来连疫情都没干啥。不要说是真的去打，那不是2个人打。
所以
要不然喝点汤。喝汤不占位方。名字很好
谢谢。
怎么讲？社会就擅长在台湾已经走过这条路，不管是做票啦、换香啦、电商关掉啦，在台湾是很多发展，而且人家要监督两党都可以进去监督，一定可以的，哪有像说不让共和党进去，他们可以，这完全违法嘿。爱干还是以前没有人可以在这个区块， 这次终于碰到了，以后他们就会更成熟。
他们是一个减损最进步的问题。
没有提前，他们到前几期，这种是我们上班族，是我们做。
对啊，
那我们这样，现在还好。早走过。
对，早走过，但是我们在路专业。
现在的手术也比较。我一直说正常也要2天就可以了，
然后现在工程师应该因为他们都是我去看，
是有快的。
我还蛮幸运的，保那阿妈医生都每天每天都有。偷看几眼，学生也都
是谁没有得？
而且那个时候他们还有工程嘛，那我还问他，我说工程呢，那你这样就没收入嘛？我当然没问这个，我就说他怎么办？他就说每个人1天200块，除了补贴之外，我们就在那个大陆继续就是还是大家就是这样子。那我心里在想，那迟早你们大概就会我都没想到要换。
对不对？基本上是说，有口一样关系。今天这个我们做的这个是打坏的原则上，刚开始下更严重的提升15%降不了下降的还差不多吓死了，每个人都气到，所以给他收刮，剩下的大家都不紧张，所以觉得就是。
那为什么杂志会有这样的做法？
没有现在，得到不了，
会突然大爆发，然后所以大家都积极去医院去，那医疗系统就崩坏，医疗系统崩坏的话呢，就没办法提供正常的医疗照顾。
可是说这个，真的，因为我问我那个老师说，美国那个医疗那么贵，那你怎么说？他就说其实他
每个人负担得起。
对啊，可是他说他也没真正去看医生，反正就好像感冒一样。
这个东西在人身上的症状不一样，对吧？也不一样，有些人会死掉，有些人不会死掉，这是看运气。有些人他身强体壮也不会死掉，但是运气其实还有看你的，不要说运气啊，说运气也不科学。
但是真的就是年纪大了比较，
年纪大比较对。
他们像美国最麻烦就是说，他们年轻的身体状况很好，那他们说是完全，他们不对啊，说是完全不管。可是这样子就不断的在出现。我跟那个上次来演讲那个会长，他说他没有知道他有那个糖尿病，就根本不能够就是结果他们都是美国人常常买，很有爱心，他就帮他教会的朋友去搬家，结果大家每个人搬的快到最后那个搬完以后那个就是接受帮忙的那个朋友就写了一个简讯，谢谢大家，然后最后写说by the way，他当然是
Ladies and gentlemen, our meeting will start in 5 minutes.
跟美国正好在这一次的处理事情，我们一开始是语言上，然后政府有这个变数，然后做比较大的一些，然后后来有部分的人，比如说像我礼拜1去台北开个会， 大家都在有在，但是这样子。那我昨天去大连玩，我要戴口罩，在晚上劝说不戴也可以。我刚才来到你，就是说不强迫，但是如果公共那个政府机构是强迫，政府像那个歌剧院，它还是更好的。你搭高铁这种公益机构，我早上来回来。再也什么？我基本上有90%。
相比较好，
那像听音乐会嘛，都在那个2场的听，但是大家都听音乐会哦，在。前面有大的一个动作，到这个很麻烦。然后现在内部的没有脱下来，那也这样子。在医疗服务上就而且做对定应该我来。没关系，他用抢，
那不是那个我们2个一尊啊。您来抢我来分。
坐着就好，坐着。你看这样不好分。不会来，那个大概谁是这样？长多了还有3个。
而且我是有带女的，但要是
大团的基本上，对，大团的都是演，然后注意看哦，那个 Phantom Opera 那个还是会来，那个要他们要特别找来，他那个因为他要演很久，所以他可以赚回来，对啊。像马友友在外面这礼拜好疯的，他那个是专机的，那个大厂的哈，如果你能看到他真的是幸运，因为他们的成本是没啊，那不演外面，
而且爸
，operation 是很高。
你知道我帮我的那个舞蹈老师请到台湾唯一一张的工作证件，
所以你自己没有，
结果他不能够。
哇，不能拿，还有，算错了，你的身材对。
And welcome back to me as solemnly today.
In the four-way test, Rotarian, this all arise for the four-way test of the things we think, say, or do. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
It is fair or country?
third,
Where individual and
fourth.
where individual
Thank you. Please be seated. Rotarian song. May we have PP Path?
不来哈。
不来。Yes.
Okay.
R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary. R-O-T-A-R-Y is known, let and see. From north to south, from east to west, the promise to serve the best. R-O-T-A-R-Y, that spells Rotary.
Thank you, PP Path.
Welcome.
Introduction of visiting Rotarian and honorable guest. May we have PPA.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to introduce today's guest. Firstly, today's speaker, 刘仕傺，刘先生。 Next is Irene's spouse, Kota. Next one is Joy's friend, Tina.
Kyoko だって。
Kyoko?
Kyoko。日本語。これは日本語。日本何枚よ。
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, PPA. Okay, present time. We have present lesson.
All right, thank you, team. We want to save some more time for today's speaker, Jerry, so I got to be short. Yes, we hold a informal meeting. Thank you, PP Data. We hold it in Yongding. Wow, it's going to be a wonderful afternoon. Thank you also, Joey. And we kind of hope finally the day comes. On Saturday, we are going to compete with Wenxin Se, so welcome to join and to see our competition. It's gonna be fun. Yes. And last night, thank you all the charter group that we joined the Zhongzhou Se chartering ceremony. So it's a wonderful night. So thank you. It will be my part. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry, one more thing to report to everyone. Yes. Welcome back, Jimmy. It's good to see you. Yeah, good to see you. Everyone healthy. And I got a salute to Ferdo. Ferdo gave us a great help to help Jimmy to have a wonderful therapy procedure. Thank you, Ferdo. Thank you. Thank you.
Secretary time. The November board meeting will be held after the regular meeting, so all the board members please reserve your time to attend. And we will hold the 2020 Multicultural Movie Festival on November 21st to 22nd. And we'll have a forum with the director at the November 22nd and National Museum of Natural Science. All the board members and spouse are encouraged to attend. So if you want more information, please refer the QR code. Okay? So we are getting to our main program. So, President, please introduce our speaker.
Thank you. Well, just like you know that we just maybe end or not end the American presidential election. So that's the reason. I want to invite our speaker, Jerry Liu Shijie. He's a, how could I say that, former diplomat or discharged diplomat. 就是他是从 former diplomat, okay. Next one, and you can see that Jerry is Pingdong. Yes, was born in Kaohsiung, but he spent most of his life before college days in Tainan, so National Tainan First High School, and later he earned a bachelor degree in National Taiwan University, politics science with major international relations. So I just figured out, originally, I intend to join the same department, but I changed my idea later on. So originally I may have a chance to be classmate with Jerry. And later on he has a master in National Tsinghua, studying China. And in his early diplomat days, he joined a junior diplomat program in Oxford University. And for his professional experiences, he spent like 5 years in LA, yeah, or 4 years in LA, and maybe 2 years in Palau, okay, Palau, the embassy, our embassy. So maybe if you Google him, you can see a lot of later on the political experiences. But that's the point today is we want to know more through his eyes to know about our international status and how could we survive after in these days after American presidential election. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Jerry.
Okay, let me just come over here. and say thank you to SN. It's really a great honor and great privilege to be here today to join with you guys to share my personal opinion on the youth election. Great honor. I always like to come back to Taichung, a great city, great sunshine, great building. When I received a phone call from Mason for the invitation, thank you, for this speech, I was quite shocked. It's actually not my first time to give a speech in English, but it's actually my first time to give speech in English with a Rotary Club. So it's an honor to be here. My speech, just before I commence my speech, I want to emphasize this speech. I hope we can have a very casual flow, which means you can ask whatever you want to ask during my presentation. You can just raise your hand and say, "Hey Jerry, I think what you say is just a bullshit," and I don't lose that. So please keep this in mind. We can have a very casual flow, and I look forward to all your opinions, your questions, your ideas. So my speech today will be focusing on Taiwan's geopolitical importance in 2020. I emphasize my speech by saying that this is actually shadowed by COVID-19. Intriguingly, Taiwan has been a flashpoint during this year's election in the U.S. and all the countries around the globe are talking about Taiwan. I will begin my speech through three perspectives, which are Hong Kong extradition bill, COVID-19, and the U.S. election. Please allow me to give a self-intro of myself, which I think has already said. I grew up in Tainan. I was born in Kaohsiung. My father was from Pingtung, but basically I'm a Tainan boy. I was in Tainan from 3 to 18. I graduated from National Tainan First High School, and at the age of 18, that was my first time to come to Taipei. I was quite shocked because to me, a Tainan boy coming to Taipei, there's a big, huge culture shock. Like, why are things so expensive here? And why are you dressing so fancy? And why are the buildings so tall? Why are you talking different?
And the food's so awful.
So I was staying in the dormitory, and I remember there was a big culture shock that when my roommate, actually my 学长, he said, "Hey, there is a 周年庆." And I asked him, "What is 周年庆?" And then to a Tainan boy, I had no idea what that is. And he was beginning to educate me what is Levi's, what is those kind of jeans brand. I was, okay, it's another world. Okay. Anyway, I came to Taipei at the age of 18, began to make some friends. I got my bachelor degree in National Taiwan University, and then my master in Tsinghua on China Studies. I want to emphasize this China Studies thing, because later on when I became a diplomat of Taiwan, I realized it's so important to understand China, to reason China, to reason what China is like. No matter you are like blue, you are green, you are red, you are pro-Taiwan, you are pro-China, it doesn't matter. What does actually matter is that you understand the second biggest economy in the world, which is China. You got to understand them. And especially if you are a pro-Taiwan, if you are like a Taipai, you have to understand China. Because that is a big competitor. During my 11 years in foreign service, I can guarantee most of my job is related to how to deal with China, even when I was in foreign service. So to understand China, to reason China, to have a very reasonable perspective on China is important, especially to a diplomat of Taiwan. And I appreciate my training in Tsinghua University. I was doing my field work in Guangdong, in Dongguan and Shenzhen. I was staying in Zhusanjiao for 3 months to write my thesis. I made some good friends in China. So anyway, I just want to share with you that my training in Tsinghua is actually changed me a lot. For my my future career path. So I passed the foreign service examination in the year of 2008. It's called 外交特考. That is actually the only path if you want to become a diplomat of Taiwan. Until we saw 口译哥, but that's a joke anyway. So the foreign service examination is considered one of the toughest exams in Taiwan. It's very tough to pass because you will get paid. And I was so lucky to pass the exam. And at the very beginning of my foreign service, I was the desk officer for the Department of North American Affairs. I was dealing with the Taiwan-U.S. relations in general, and I was the desk officer for 2 years. And then my first overseas post was to Los Angeles in California. I just realized Edison was in Los Angeles when I was there, so coincidence. So I was in California for 4 years, and then was posted to Palau. Taiwan Embassy in Palau. Palau is our foreign ally. If you remember it, can I ask you a question? How many allies do we have right now? How many allies does Taiwan have right now, currently? Do you know the number?
18?
18, that was an outdated number.
Oh my.
No longer 18. We used to, but not anymore. So,
15.
Any guess? 15? Good guess. Yeah, that's the number.
Oh.
Now we have 15 allies. Hopefully, we can keep this number for a while. Don't decrease anymore. But so Palau is one of the 15 allies. I was in the Taiwan Embassy in Palau for 2 years. That was a beautiful country, pristine ocean. If you like ocean, how many of you have been to Palau for diving, for snorkeling, for fishing? No one? Oh my God!
How many hours away?
It's actually only 3.5 hour flight, direct flight. You know, it's not too far. It's just next to Guam, next to Manila. It's not too far away. And if you take China Airlines, it's like 2 or 3 flights weekly. So it's convenient. It's convenient. So maybe next time the trip by Rotary can go to Palau, and yeah, it's actually not too far away. And if you like ocean, and okay, if you can't swim, if you are afraid of water, if you can't swim, that's totally fine too. You can go there to do fishing. Okay, it's beautiful there.
And we'll bring you together.
You can bring me and pay my ticket, and I will be the tour guide for you. I know lots of friends in Palau. Anyway, I was in Palau for 2 years, and you know, not every diplomat of Taiwan would have the experience of serving in the embassy. Because if you spend your career in the U.S. and Europe, which are not the allies of Taiwan, right? You will have no idea of what it's like to work in the real embassy. Like my vehicle, my car, the car that I drove in Palau, we have a diplomat vehicle plate. And if I get drunk, I got pulled over by the police in Palau. Hey, you are from the embassy. Sorry. Go. So anyway, you still have some perks and privilege as a diplomat, as a real diplomat in Palau. And in the year of 2018, I returned to Taipei as the section chief in the European Affairs, and also during the same year, I made a very brave attempt, maybe very silly attempt. I tried to run for office. I was the first diplomat in Taiwan in history to run for Taipei City Council. I was the first one in history as a public servant to run for office. Great experience, great memory, and of course I didn't make it. In the year of 19, I returned to Mofa, to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and also I made my mind to quit from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and I work in the media company. It's called Fusion Media as the Director of International Affairs, and in the year of 2020, this year, I decided to join New Power Party. Now I'm currently the International Affairs Director. That's pretty much my career path in the future. So I want to ask you how to become a career diplomat of Taiwan. You gotta pass the examination, and if you don't know, we have representative office and embassies. Now we have 15 countries allies, right? So in those countries we have embassies. But for those countries that we do not have formal ties, we have representative office. Like we have the rep office in DC, in the US, we have the rep office in Tokyo, in Japan, we have the rep office in the EU, in Manila, in Bangkok, etc. And there's one thing important to understand how the Foreign Service of Taiwan work. We classify all the overseas posting as A, B, C, D zone, like zone A, zone B, zone C, zone D. And that means if you go to the US, you go to New York, you go to Los Angeles, you go to Paris, you go to London, that is zone A. Because that's comfortable, that's convenient, that's very safe, secure, and you go to ball game, concert, restaurants, lots of things. That's called zone A. The only drawback is that you don't get good pay because it's so convenient, and your children can receive a very good education in California, in New York. So you already get what you want. So we won't pay you more. That is zone A. But if you choose to go to zone D, like A, B, C, D, D for dog, that's hardship, right? It's dangerous, it's risky, it's not comfortable. It's very, very hard for you to be there alone. And then you will get good pay, right? So take Palau, right? So take Palau for example. Palau was considered zone C, and then it changed to zone B, zone B. But if you go somewhere in Africa, it's zone D, right? If you go somewhere in the Pacific Islands, like the Tuvalu, those very tiny islands, it's zone D, right? And I want to ask you a question. Do you know how much one person can earn as a junior officer in zone D? Just say if you are posted to Tuvalu, right? How much money you will get as a very junior officer? How much you will get? The Taiwan government will pay you. Do you know how much if you are working in Tuvalu?
A month or a year?
A month, just say a month in New Taiwan or US dollars, whatever. What's that?
300,000 per month?
It's actually
Higher.
10,000 US dollars. 10,000. 1,000 big 10,000 US dollars to a month to work in Tuvalu. Okay. Anyone who wants to go there, Tuvalu. Okay, it's not. I know many of you get very good pay, but actually 10,000 US dollars a month to me is very good pay, right? Very handsome pay. And anyway, so they encourage you to endure the hardship, to go to those very somewhere in Africa, in the Pacific Islands. So
how much for LA?
Los Angeles, as far as I can recall, Los Angeles was like 5,000 US dollars per month. But actually in Los Angeles, it's very difficult to save money. You go to a restaurant, you spend $20 to $40. You go to watch a Dodgers game, the 道奇棒球队, then you spend $50. You go to a bar to have 2 beer, and then you spend $10 to $20. So it's very hard for you to save money in Los Angeles, in New York, because there's so many space, so many things to spend to have fun, right? If you go to New York, you go to watch an opera, musical, so expensive, right? You got a shopping mall, then your wife will say, hey, honey, let's go shopping, and then you buy lots of things. But if you go to Tuvalu, there's nowhere for you to shop, right? No shopping mall, no ball game, no concert, no whatever, no restaurants, no cafe, no bars.
No bars.
So you can just go to a grocery store to buy some cans of beers, but that's it. Okay. So if you go to Tuvalu, you get good pay, you have nowhere to spend money, then you save money, right? Okay, so that's a big difference, and especially if you have children, right? It costs a lot for you to raise kids, right? If you go to New York, London, just say London, for example, so expensive. Okay, you buy a very bad taste hamburger in London for 20 pounds. So anyway, so the ABCD zone is an important concept for you to understand how the Foreign Service.
Jerry, we have a former Rotarian. Maybe you know him like Liu Yiping. Andy Lau.
Yeah.
So as we know, he was designed to Nigeria as a representative.
Okay.
Yes. So that's a zone D.
I believe Andy Lau is very rich. I think he can donate some money. Nigeria is definitely zone D, and if he is a senior in the foreign rank, he might get like, I don't know, 1万美金. So anyway, try to get some money from him, okay? Anyway, I spent my 11 years in Foreign Service, mostly on U.S.-Taiwan relations, and that's very unique. And to understand Taiwan's external policies, the U.S. is always the most important to understand. And do our foreign allies matter? Do you guys care much about our allies? Like from 18 to 17 to 16 to 15? Do you really care about these numbers?
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Well, it doesn't matter that much, right? It doesn't matter that much. And what if we have none? What if we have non-allies? Like Lin Bang Jiao Guo, right? What if we have non-allies? Do you think the Rotary Club will diminish? And no, right? No, we still go out to eat and meet friends. So, as a diplomat, we cannot say these allies do not matter, but actually it does not matter that much as compared to our connections with the US, Japan, and the EU, Australia, and Canada. So this actually doesn't matter that much, in my personal opinion. So, as you might know, that last year there was extradition bill issues in Hong Kong, right? 逃犯条例引渡协议哈。That happened. I was doing my own podcast episode on extradition bill in March of 2019, and one day I got a call from Cai Shiping. And he said, "Hey, Jerry, I want to invite you to my radio show because I want to talk about this issue." And by then, there were not many people in Taiwan talking about this issue, and you were the first one in Taiwan talking about this. I was aware of how severe, how significant this issue would turn to be, and so in 1 month, in 2 months, this issue has been wild around the globe, and everybody talking about this issue. And this is always the Hong Kong issue is actually helpful for Tsai Ing-wen to get re-elected in some sense. So anyway, Taiwan's perspective on Hong Kong issue has been very tricky. In the year of 1997, Hong Kong was returned to China from the UK, right? And Hong Kong was guaranteed that Hong Kong can enjoy autonomy for 50 years, 50年不变. So we will have to ask the same question: is Hong Kong China's internal issue in the year of 2047? That is 1997 plus 50 years. So in the year of 2047, Hong Kongers will be asked this question: is Hong Kong part of China? Right? Hong Kong is actually part of China, but what the communists, the China does not keep their promise is that they broke their promise like 29 years before. But even if the Chinese, the communists did keep their promise, we would have to ask the same question in the 2047. Is Hong Kong part of the China's internal issue? Because in international law, a foreign country cannot interfere in another country's domestic issues. That's why Tsai Ing-wen administration has been very cautious about this. Because if the Tsai administration does too much, then Taiwan will be accused of, why are you putting your hands in China's internal issues? So Taiwan does help for Hong Kong, but we cannot do that on the table. That's the risk. That's the risk that Tsai has to face. The law in Taiwan regarding Hong Kong is the laws and regulations regarding Hong Kong and Macau affairs. In Mandarin is called 港澳条例. And in Article 18 it says necessary assistance shall be provided to Hong Kong and Macau residents whose safety and liberty are immediately threatened for political reasons. And this Article 18 is not specific enough, and that's why Tsai Ing-wen administration got attacked from other parties saying that why can't you just do more for Hong Kong? And the Tsai administration will say, we haven't done enough, we just cannot say it. So that's part of the risk. And that's very Taiwanese perspective that Taiwan is not part of China, but Hong Kong is actually part of China. So Taiwan wants to do something for Hong Kong, but we cannot say it loudly. We cannot. But we can do behind the scenes, but we just cannot say it in public. And let's talk about the pandemic thing. Who to blame? This sentence is a pun. It's who to blame or WHO to blame. So this one is a pun. In the beginning of the pandemic, Trump was not aware of how dangerous, how lethal this pandemic can be. But as the pandemic went viral in the U.S., Trump began to criticize the WHO, and even Trump decided to drop out from World Health Organization. That's a big issue here, and as we can see, the China and the U.S., the tensions between the China and the U.S. has been escalating during the past 2 years. We're talking about the trade issues. When Trump took office in 2016, his slogan was "Make America Great Again." The MAGA, the MAGA, "Make America Great Again." And the U.S. by then owned a huge trade deficit to China. But make no mistake, many people in Taiwan, especially those pro-Taiwan, fan Taipei, they have a fantasy towards Trump. They say, hey, Trump is very friendly to Taiwan. Actually, it's not accurate to say this. Trump himself is not very friendly to Taiwan, but his team is. We're talking about the Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. We're talking about the National Advisor Matt Pottinger. These guys who are very hawkish to China. These guys are very friendly to Taiwan. But Trump himself, has he said something in public about Taiwan? As far as I can recall, he and Tsai Ing-wen made a phone call in 2016, right? Yeah. Besides that phone call, actually Trump himself barely mentioned Taiwan in public. But his team is very friendly to Taiwan. So that's a huge difference. So the same logic will go to Joe Biden if Joe Biden become the president. No matter Joe Biden is friendly to Taiwan or not, what matters to Taiwan is his team. It's his team. Who he's gonna appoint as the Secretary of State, who he's going to recruit into his national security team. That will be more important for Taiwan. I want to spend 1 minute talking about this Ambassador Terry Branstad. Terry was the U.S. ambassador to China in Trump's first term. When Xi Jinping was nobody, when Xi Jinping was very, very young, he went to the U.S. and Terry Branstad was the governor of Iowa, and he received Xi Jinping. So when Donald Trump appointed Terry Branstad to be the U.S. ambassador to China, actually the People's Daily, 人民日报, actually described Terry Branstad as a very old friend for Chinese, 中国人民的好朋友. And Trump himself, was it?
And that's the title.
Yeah, in his article, a report. And actually, Donald Trump has said this in public for several times that Xi Jinping is a very good friend of mine. You know? So he will say that Xi Jinping is a very good friend of mine. So anyway, so in his very 2 years in office, it's considered that Trump administration want to improve ties with China. And Xi Jinping or China received this olive branch. So they sent Terry Branstad as the U.S. ambassador to China. But just 2 months ago, Terry was ousted. The reason was said that he was to publish an article in People's Daily, and the People's Daily refused to publish the article. But of course, we know there are many other reasons. So it's a very weird, just 2 months before the US election, Trump decided to oust one of the most important overseas posts. So nobody is clear what Trump is thinking about China. If Joe Biden wins the election at the end of the day, he would have to appoint a new ambassador to China and maybe a new AIT director in the future. And also we can see China was forced to close the consulate in Houston. And then the US decided to close their consulate in Chengdu. So this has been unseen in the past, I would say, 2 or 3 decades. Like the 2 biggest economies in the world are closing their consulates to each other. This is so weird. And we're talking about this foreign media expelled out of China, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Washington Post, and then some of them coming to Taiwan, some of them going to Seoul in Korea. And we're talking about the Department of State is thinking about closing the Confucius Institute in the US, talking about the Belt and Road Initiative has been receiving very negative feeling around the globe. So the big picture in the US and also the globe the world is that people begin to see, hey, China, it's a threat. It's a threat. We don't like China. About 2 to 3 weeks ago, there was a poll conducted in the U.S. saying that people in the U.S. are so unhappy about China. So that's the big picture. So even Joe Biden wins the election, I would think he would take a very different approach compared to his predecessors in his party before. The U.S. Hello. Okay, and the U.S. election, Trump versus Biden. We used to say the vice president does not matter, right? Because what matters is the president herself. But in the case of Joe Biden, vice president is so important because Joe Biden is 77 years old now. I'm not even sure if he can finish his first term, not to mention the second term. So his advice is important. Kamala Harris has an Indian background, and she is an elite. Taiwan knows very little about her, so that's the problem. And Joe Biden, I don't fancy this guy very much. I don't like this guy very much, but I don't say this in public. I don't want to take sides, but if you ask my personal opinion, I consider this is a safe place for me to say. I don't like Joe Biden as a politician. It's just a chemistry. No, I like Trump. He's charming, yeah, charisma. So we're talking about the national security team. Just today, Joe Biden announced that he would appoint Ron Klain to be his chief of staff. And I think it's a very good pick because Ron Klain used to work in the Obama administration for Biden, so they have known each other for a long time. And I think for Taiwan, what we should care is what is the strategy for the U.S. to participate in international organizations. In the two television debate, Joe Biden expressed his willingness to say, if I win the election, I will make America rejoin the Paris Accord, the Paris Climate Change Accord. He said this twice, and actually on the second day of the voting, November 4, the U.S. has been officially dropped out of the Paris Accord. Joe Biden tweeted then saying that, in 77 days, I will make America rejoin the Paris Accord. He has not expressed his decision if the U.S. will rejoin the WHO or the WHA. But I think for Taiwan, what matters is the WHA thing, because we are very close with the U.S. If the U.S. is out of the game, if the U.S. is not in the WHA anymore, I doubt what we can do as a country to get a support within the WHA circle. So that is a big issue for us. And I want to ask you this, some question. Is the Taiwan to reestablish diplomatic ties with the U.S. It would not happen soon. It would not happen soon. Not in the near future. But that's totally fine because we have a very strong support in the U.S. Congress. The Taiwan Caucus now has over 130 members in the Taiwan Caucus. That's about 1/5 in the U.S. Senator and U.S. Congressman. And in the year of 2018, Taiwan Travel Act was passed. And also in 2019, they passed the Taiwan Airlines International Protection and Enhancement Initiative. It's called Taipei Act, Taipei Fa. And also the Asia Reassurance Initiative Act of 2018 area. Taiwan Assurance Act or bill has not been passed yet, maybe in 2021. So at least these important U.S. domestic laws to tell you guys, no matter what the administration is, Taiwan has been enjoying a bipartisan support in the U.S. Congress. That's very important for us. No matter it's the Democrats, the Republican, we have enjoyed a bipartisan and staunch support in the U.S. Congress. Are we expecting the U.S. troops coming soon? Do you guys want to have the U.S. troops coming to Taiwan? Please raise your hand if you want to see U.S. troops on this island. Raise your hand. 你要看到美军来台湾吗？ If you want to see U.S. troops in Taiwan, coming over to Taiwan, so you don't want to, you are not happy to see U.S. troops come to Taiwan?
It depends the conditions.
Okay. And what condition? When
The
can
communists go to get Taiwan, yes, we need them help.
Okay. Yeah. The military cooperation and exchanges between Taiwan and the U.S. has been going around for years, and the ministry just they does not say this, but that does not mean we don't have it. So please be assured. I personally think the U.S. has always been a supporter for Taiwan, and that's one of the reasons that China has been very reluctant and hesitating to attack Taiwan. So that's my personal opinion. Taiwan as an invisible elbow as the U.S.-China tensions escalate. Are we ready? This year, Taiwan has been at the tipping point of the U.S. election, the U.S.-China tensions. U.S. Secretary of Health, Azar, coming to Taiwan for the COVID-19. This has been weird, right? When the pandemic in the U.S. is so severe, and the top official in charge of the pandemic left the country and came to Taiwan for 3 to 4 days. This is so weird. And he was talking about, hey, I want to see what Taiwan can teach us how to combat the pandemic. Come on, you can just make a call. You don't have to fly over, you know. So this has been a very political gesture. And what's the purpose? To make China angry, to make China pissed off. Hey, what are you doing? You cannot do this. As I just say, the Taiwan Travel Act was passed in 2018. So based on the law, the U.S. officials and the Taiwan officials are encouraged to visit each other at all levels, So Azar came to Taiwan, he said, hey, I have the legitimacy coming to Taiwan. I want to see what Taiwan has been doing to combat the pandemic. But we all know it's not like that. It's for, it's a poke to China, to make China angry. And just days after Azar left Taiwan, another guest came to Taiwan. Under Secretary of State, he's Krug. China has been like totally pissed off. Azar is the minister, but his Krug is one level up. How can you do this? How can you do this? How can you try to make me angry? And my question is, why is Trump doing this? Because my guess is Trump wants to use Taiwan as a chip to make China do something stupid. And if China did something stupid before the voting, then China's polls will go up. Then it would be helpful for him to win the election. So that's why I think he sent this, because Keith Clark, his capacity is for energy and labor, right? His capacity is energy and labor. But he was in Taiwan to attend the funeral of the former president Lee Teng-hui. So that does not fit into his capacity, very far away. They have another under Secretary of State is in charge of the democracy and human rights. That one will fit more, but not his crime, right? And the Department of State released the press 5 hours after Keith Clark's plane took off. It only has 4 lines. Like Keith Clark will be in Taiwan to attend the former president of Taiwan, Lee Teng-hui's memorial service. Only 4 lines. It's the shortest press release by the DOS I've ever seen. The shortest. So as you can imagine, there is an internal fight between the US. Where are you sending Keith Clark? Not to mention the USTR. Rob Heiser has been very unhappy because the USTR thinks, hey, the BTA between Taiwan and the US is my job, not the DOS. Why are you sending kids to Taiwan to talk about this? This is not right. So there's also an internal fight within the bureaucracy of the US government. And yesterday, we are happy to see Taiwan-US Economic Prosperity Partnership Dialogue news, the press, and this will be convened on November 20. So the Vice Minister of Economic Affairs of Taiwan will be visiting the US to meet Keith Clark on November 20. So I list these instances, examples to let you guys know Taiwan has been an invisible role in this US election, which is risky for us, but we can do nothing about it, right? If China got mad before the voting day and say, okay, let's attack Taiwan, let's send some missiles over, then Taiwan will have a huge loss. But luckily, we still enjoy the peace right now. But that's the background before the November 4th. So I want to hear the questions from you guys. I look forward to taking the questions if you have any opinions. But at the same time, you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, my Twitter, my cell phone number. I published a book. Last year, I wrote many articles, so it's an honor and privilege to be here today. So thank you for having me. Thank you.
I think we're going to have another question to Jerry. Thank you, please do.
Yeah. You want, okay.
我问2个问题啊，因为一直对这个有点疑惑。第一个就是说，我听说那个美国的驻外单位如果配备陆战队，陆战队的话就是形同跟大使馆一样。然后现在因为他现在在 AIT 在那个内湖新盖那个是有配备陆战队的，这个是不是呢？第二个就是说，刚刚提到那个现在我们这个邦交国在15国家嘛，那因为台湾这样的一个就是说。 经贸一直都不到的国家哈，是应该重视实质的外交关系，还是说是对他承认我们这个国家就好，其他的可以慢慢来无所谓。那现在就是说，也因为网友在开玩笑嘛，说台湾跟大陆最大不同是台湾的总统可能去的地方很少，但是人民到处跑，拿着护照很多地方都可以去。 大陆刚好是相反的，大陆民众出去护照，他可能都要去检查进去，但是只有那个习近平他可以到处跑的，所以我就说，因为我们现在可能很多想说啊，要争取更多的那个邦交国了，然后要加入这个组织，加那个组织，但这个看起来努力那么多年，也并没有说太大的进展反而是实质的非正式的外交关系这方面好像看起来比较那个。那刚我们看到那个美国国会，他也通过很多法案就通过很多法案，我们高兴，但是那个是他国内通过，他不是跟我们正式签订合有正式什么正式一些经贸的那个法律关系，这是我的问题。好。
Do I have to answer in English or
Mandarin, please.
OK， 我用中文讲好了，好让大家听更清楚一点。我觉得台湾对海军陆战队有一个遐想，就是觉得他们很厉害，有没有？就是他们当然真的是很厉害哈。那你们知道海军陆战队来台湾是干嘛吗？有没有谁知道？海军陆战队来台湾，来美国大学，来 AIT
保护 AIT 吧？
撤侨计划
啊？没有撤啦。
你们知道真正我这个我很少在外面讲，所以今天讲你们就听听就好。这个海军陆战队来到台湾这个其实他们对外面也不太讲，我是从很机密的管道知道的。海军陆战队来到台湾的真正的目的是在必要的时候销毁那些机密的设备跟文件，不是什么保卫 AIT 内洞，因为不会有人去打他们嘛，不可能。主要就是去在所谓要撤管或是遇到攻击的时候，去销毁机密文件跟设备，这个是最重要的。那台美之间的军事的合作其实行之有年，只是以前过去没有被讲出来。好，那所以我是觉得，当然海军陆战队 Marine Corps 来台湾是乐见，但是对于他们是不是要在台湾这个土地上去所谓打中共什么，我觉得不可能嘛。顶多都是派几十个人过来，是能打什么中共？而且现在的作战形态都是靠飞弹的，对不对？所以其实不需要有太过美丽的幻想什么的。所以，但是他们的确是重视这个 AIT， 因为 AIT 在内湖的那个新馆，各位不知道有没有经过，很漂亮嘛，大概是造价好像是10几亿吧，10几亿的台币，那美国很少花这么多钱去重新盖一个自己的驻外馆处。那这个有2个意涵，第一个是台美关系很好，第2个意涵是他们想要长期经营跟台湾的关系，不然不会花这么多钱嘛。好，他除了那个几十亿的那栋新 AIT 馆之外，他甚至在台北的天母买下一栋那个豪宅，那种大楼豪宅啊，大概比7期的还要更豪华，什么新美奇的。有这个建商吗？好，买了整栋哦，干嘛？当他们的宿舍。觉得怎么这么有钱啊？然后后来想一想，他可能花几亿买一栋建筑物当他们的宿舍，再卖我们飞弹卖2颗就回来了，所以好像还好。好，所以的确花了很多资源在台美关系上，我觉得这对台湾是好事。是保障我们的安全，这个我是非常非常乐见啊。那有没有那个名称，就说是美国大使馆，可能短期内不会发生，但是他们花了很多的资源跟人力。就我所知，他们的人力配置在台北的这个人力配置，也是整个亚洲里面前几名的，人很多的，所以可见他们非常重视这个点。那我想这个东西是事实。也是超越蓝绿啦，就是我想不管谁当总统，台美关系都是必须要去维持下去。那邦交国我是觉得这样，就是说它是一个外交部没有办法去公开说我们就不是 很需要这些，当然，因为就说所谓跟理念相近的国家，美国、德国、日本、欧盟这些，事实上对台湾来讲更重要，是更重要。这个我想大家都知道的事情。但是我们的确是需要有一些邦交国在联合国大会、在世界卫生大会帮我们讲话。你说讲话，他们会不会听？不听算了，反正起码有讲话。那当然，我还是希望说不要有所谓邻邦交国的一天。我个人希望还是要有一些基本的这样子。这样有回答到你的问题吗？那还有没有看哪些朋友有些问题就可以尽量问？我能够讲的我都尽量讲。
During this break, is there any more question? I want to let the time.
就是未来4年，台湾有可能重回联合国。
这个我刚刚其实有漏讲一个东西，就是美国驻联合国的那个大使Kelly Craft， 他在上个月的时候，跟台湾驻联合国的那个大使叫李光章，我们都认识啦。然后就是在纽约吃了一顿中饭，然后被路透社的记者拍到，这很奇怪，是被美国的当地的媒体出口转内销，然后故意放照片出来。那个讯息我觉得跟美国派国务卿、派这个所谓国务次卿到台湾来是一模一样的逻辑，就是为了要刺激中国，因为那就发生在选前嘛。然后这个美国驻联合国的这个大使，这个女生长得蛮漂亮的，这个 Kelly Craft。他后来过了几天之后，在一场跟台北的视讯会议上，他讲了一句话，他说美国会支持台湾在联合国体系的 full participation， 完全参与。讲这句话出来，大家都惊了啊，什么东西？美国支持台湾在联合国体系的完全参与，意思就是我们要入联啊。不然什么叫完全参与？那从来没有一个美国的这么高层的联合国或外交官员对于台湾的国际参与有这么明白且清楚的支持。他不是什么我会挺台湾，什么成为观察员什么，不是讲这些很模糊的，他是说支持台湾在台湾是 full participation in the UN system。我是一字一句跟大家讲，所以这是很清楚的。但怎么会突然美国挺台湾入联？那这个讯息，我其实也是觉得，就是在刚刚讲的那个背景，让中国觉得美送怎么会这样子？所以我坦白讲，我觉得台湾有办法在4年入联，我没有很乐观的期待，因为这个有很高的难度。拜登自己的国际组织参与，他是希望让中国去 play by international rule， 好，但是他如果要中国照国际规则来玩的话，中国不可能让台湾去在UN体系里面去运作，所以我是觉得那个规则很难，所以可能还是要回到那个基本面，就是说从观察员的身份，包括像国际民航组织、世界卫生组织UNFCCC 的这个慢慢来这样，完全参与，就是说完全入联，我是觉得还没有到那个，起码现在来讲还没有到那个时机这样，对吧？还有没有问题？
好，谢谢。那我们掌声谢谢，谢谢。小礼物，这样的。还有照片。
再一张吗？谢谢。
谢谢。Okay, attendance report. We have PP data.
Good thing. Attendance report. Thank you, Jerry. Today very interesting speech. Very wonderful day. Today we have 23 members attend, no visiting Rotarian and 3 guests. So the total attendance rate that we have today is 66%. Thank you.
Thank you, PP data. 吃 urgent and armed report. May we have PP Pat?
Okay, let me have today's Sergeant General report. Thanks, Jerry. What a great speech from Essen. 1,000. Thank you.
Thank you, PP Pat. Okay, what's next? What's coming? Next week, we have no regular meeting, but we changed to Rotary Day on November 21, which means the next Saturday. 地点在台中市民广场，早上9点半到下午4点半。Okay, November 21st. And the next is the November 26th. 由我们文国士老师带来问题学生是被问题缠绕的学生，这个主题。And that day it is the also the HW Day, so all the members and the spouse are welcome to attend. Okay, this is the meeting today.
Thank you everyone for staying for your patience. I adjourn the meeting now.